My dad hated and blamed me for my mom's death. But her letter exposed everything. 24 years of guilt. One letter changed everything. I don't know how to start this without sounding dramatic, but here it goes. My dad hates me. Like actual hate. Not the tough love kind. Not the strict parent kind. I mean the cold, bitter, soul-rotting kind of hate that sits in your chest for decades and poisons everything around it. And the worst part? I never even got the chance to do anything to deserve it. Because, according to him, I killed my mom. Let me explain. I, 24M, grew up thinking something was just wrong with me. Not in a quirky way, more like, why does my dad never smile at me? Or, why does he talk to the dog more than he talks to me? Kind of way. He raised me alone. My mom died the day I was born. I don't even have a picture of the two of us together. I've never heard her voice, never seen a video, nothing. My entire life, she existed as this distant angel everyone spoke about in hushed tones, except my dad. He didn't talk about her. At all. But it was the way he didn't talk about her that made it worse. It was like he was holding something in every time he looked at me. Like his jaw would clench just a little. His eyes would narrow for half a second. And then he'd go quiet, or just walk away. He never hit me. Never screamed. But silence. Man, that silence was a weapon. No birthdays. No hugs. No, I'm proud of you. Everything I did growing up felt like screaming into a void. I remember one time in 3rd grade, I got a Student of the Month certificate. I was so proud. Came home with it like it was a gold medal. I handed it to him, hoping, just hoping, for a smile or a good job. You know what he said? Doesn't change anything. Then he left it on the table and went to go watch TV. I didn't even know what that meant at the time, but I could feel it hit me like a punch to the stomach. As I got older, I started putting the pieces together. Family members would sometimes say stuff they thought I couldn't hear. Poor kid, he looks just like her. You can't blame the boy forever. He's punishing that child for something that wasn't his fault. But they never explained what. No one would tell me what the hell was going on. Every time I asked, I got the classic, ask your father. And guess what my dad would say? You already know. Except I didn't. I really didn't. But it planted something in me. This belief that I must have done something horrible. That I must be the reason everything felt so broken. By the time I was a teenager, I fully believed that my existence ruined his life. And I acted like it too. I stopped trying. I stopped bringing home awards. I stopped trying to make him laugh or even talk to me. I just existed. Quietly. And when I turned 18, I left. I didn't do a dramatic fight or anything. I just packed up, left a note, and disappeared into the city. No college. No big dreams. I just wanted a tiny apartment and to be invisible. I figured if I was the reason someone's life fell apart, the least I could do was not be in it anymore. And that's how I lived for a few years. Quiet. Alone. Working dumb jobs. Keeping my head down. Trying to forget that I started life as someone's greatest tragedy. But all of that changed last week. I got a phone call from an aunt I hadn't heard from in years. She said she had something for me. Something my mom left behind. Something my dad never gave me. And that's where this story really begins. So after years of total silence from my dad's side of the family, I get this random phone call from my aunt, his older sister. We hadn't spoken in, I don't know, 6 years? Maybe more. I remembered her being one of the nicer ones. She used to sneak me candy when I was a kid, gave me Christmas cards even when my dad stopped doing holidays. But after I moved out, all of that faded away. Anyway, she calls and the first thing she says is, I've been looking for you. I have something your mom wanted you to have. My stomach dropped. I actually froze. I thought maybe I heard her wrong. My mom. The one who died in childbirth? I said, what are you talking about? She died before I was even born. And she goes, yes, but she left you something. A letter. Your dad was supposed to give it to you when you were old enough to understand. He didn't. I didn't know what to say. I just stood there holding the phone like a brick. A letter? From her? Something meant for me. Why the hell would he hide that? She asked if I could meet her. I hesitated. Part of me didn't want to get sucked back into that world. But curiosity won. I needed answers. So I agreed. We met at this small diner halfway between our towns. She looked older, more tired than I remembered. But she smiled when she saw me and gave me a real hug. Like, the kind that felt like she'd been waiting years to do it. We sat, made awkward small talk, and then she slid an envelope across the table like it was contraband. It was old. Yellowed edges. My name was written on the front in handwriting I'd never seen before. Just, to my baby boy. I didn't open it right away. I just stared at it. My hands were shaking. She watched me and said, "She wrote that a few days before you were born. She knew something could go wrong. Your dad, he didn't want you to ever see it. But I kept a copy." And then she dropped another line that made my head spin. "Your mom knew the risks. She made a choice. Your dad never forgave her for it, or for what came before." I blinked. "What do you mean? What came before?" She hesitated, took a breath. "He wasn't faithful during her pregnancy. She found out. It broke her heart. But she still loved you. She wanted you to know that." My head was a mess at that point. I didn't even know which part to focus on. So I just asked her straight up, "Did I kill her?" She looked at me like I was a lost child. "No, honey. She knew the risks. She chose to carry you anyway. She fought to keep you. What happened wasn't your fault. Not even close." And suddenly I felt like someone had taken a 50-pound weight off my chest, but also punched me in the gut at the same time. For 24 years I'd lived under this shadow. And now, in this tiny diner, with a wrinkled envelope in my hands, I realized everything I thought I knew might have been a lie. I took the letter home. I didn't read it at the diner. I couldn't. It felt too big for that. But the second I walked through my door, I sat down, took a deep breath, and opened it. And what I read changed everything. I sat on my couch for a long time before I actually opened the letter. The envelope felt fragile, like one wrong move would tear it in half. I don't know why I was so scared. Maybe because a part of me thought, what if it does say it's my fault? What if she blames me? But no. When I finally pulled out that folded piece of paper, the first thing I noticed was how soft her handwriting was. Like it had a warmth to it. It started with, "To my sweet boy, if you're reading this, it means I didn't get the chance to tell you this in person. But I want you to know something before anyone else gets to shape your story." I swear to God, I felt my throat close up. I had to stop reading for a second. It was like hearing her voice for the first time. I've never cried over something I didn't remember, but that hit me hard. She wrote about how excited she was to meet me. She talked about how I used to kick when she sang, how she'd already picked out lullabies, how she imagined the way I'd laugh, how she'd trace my nose with her finger. Then the tone changed. She said that during a routine checkup, her doctor found signs of placenta previa. Basically, a condition that makes childbirth way more dangerous. Her OB recommended an early delivery, even a C-section, to reduce risk. But she refused. Not because she was reckless, but because she believed in me. In us. She wrote, "If anything goes wrong, please know I would never, ever blame you. You didn't take me from the world. I chose to give you to it." I had to stop there. I just sobbed. Ugly, chest cracking, shoulder-shaking sobs that I don't think I'd let out since I was a kid. Because for the first time, I knew. I didn't ruin her life. I was her life. She chose me. She knew the risks. She still chose me. And then came the part that really messed me up. She talked about my dad. Not in a bitter way, but honest. She said she'd recently found out he'd been cheating. That it had been going on for a while. She was devastated, but didn't want it to touch me. She wrote, "I don't know what kind of father he'll be to you. But if he ever makes you feel unwanted, please remember this. It's not because of you. It's his pain, not yours to carry." That sentence shattered me. My whole life I'd been carrying his pain, like a backpack full of bricks. And now, in a few pages, she'd taken it off me. Just like that. The letter ended like this. "My beautiful son, you are not my death. You are my love made real." I sat in silence for a long time after that, just staring at her words, letting it all sink in. The way my dad looked at me, the coldness, the guilt, the years of silence. It wasn't my fault. None of it was. And suddenly, everything made sense, but in the worst possible way. He didn't raise me because he loved me. He raised me because he couldn't face what he did. And every time he looked at me, he saw her forgiveness and his failure. I spent that night on the couch, clutching the letter like it was oxygen. And by morning, I'd made a decision. I was going to see him. After all these years, it was time to ask one question. Why did you hide this from me? I didn't sleep the night before. Barely ate. I just kept reading that letter over and over like it was going to change. Spoiler, it didn't. It kept telling the same story, the one my dad tried to bury. I didn't call ahead. I didn't text. I just showed up. His house hadn't changed. Same peeling paint. Same weird little gnome in the garden that always freaked me out as a kid. When he opened the door and saw me, the look on his face said everything. He thought he'd never see me again. He didn't say anything at first. just stood there, staring. I held up the letter. I know. His eyes dropped to the envelope. His shoulders sank like the weight of 20 years just pressed down on him. Still, he didn't move. Didn't ask me in. So I pushed past him, walked into the same living room I used to sit in, waiting for a nod of approval that never came. He followed me in slowly, like a man walking to his own funeral. I'm not here to fight, I said. I just want to know why you kept this from me. Silence. Then he sat down, heavily, like his legs barely worked. Ran his hand down his face. She wrote that for you. It was meant to stay between her and her memory. I snapped. What the hell does that even mean? And then he finally looked at me. Not like I was a ghost or a burden, but really looked at me. He said, she forgave me. That letter, it made me sick. She found out what I did, and instead of hating me, she left me that. And you were supposed to be our fresh start. But every time I looked at you, he paused, swallowed hard, didn't finish. So I finished it for him. Every time you looked at me, you saw what? Her forgiveness? Your guilt? Or just the fact that she chose me over you? He winced. You blamed a baby for a death you didn't cause. You let me grow up thinking I ruined your life, when the truth is, you ruined your own and couldn't face it. He didn't defend himself. He didn't deny it. He just whispered, I know, and I swear, I almost felt sorry for him. Almost. But then he said something that knocked the wind out of me. She begged me to love you. That's what kills me. She knew I wouldn't be able to, and she still begged. That broke something in me. Not because it was cruel, but because it was honest. The kind of honesty that feels like a confession from a man who's already in hell and knows there's no way out. He looked older than I remembered. Smaller. Like all the weight he'd carried had crushed him from the inside. You could have had both of us, I said quietly. But you chose neither. And then I left. He didn't call after me. Didn't ask me to stay. He just sat there. Alone. Like he'd probably done for years. And as I walked back to my car, letter in my pocket, heart in my throat, I realized something. I wasn't angry anymore. I was done being angry for a man who couldn't love what he didn't deserve. I didn't go home right after leaving his house. I drove. No music. Just the sound of tires on the road, and that old letter folded in my jacket pocket like it was still keeping me upright. I didn't even realize where I was heading until I pulled into the cemetery parking lot. I hadn't been here since I was a kid. The one and only time my dad brought me, I was maybe 6 or 7. He stood 5 feet behind me the entire time like the headstone might bite him. We stayed 5 minutes, and then he dragged me back to the car without saying a word. But now I was alone, on my own terms. It took me a few minutes to find her. There were weeds around her headstone. Some of the lettering had faded. I knelt down, brushing off the dirt, and whispered, Hi, Mom. It felt weird. I didn't know what to say. I didn't grow up with her voice in my head or memories to hold on to. But somehow it still felt right. I pulled the letter out and read it out loud. Every word. My voice cracked halfway through. I choked up on the "you are my love made real" part, and then just cried. Not the kind of crying I'd done before. Out of frustration, anger, loneliness. This was something else. This was release. For the first time, I wasn't crying because I felt broken. I was crying because someone had loved me, completely and selflessly, before I even took my first breath. She had forgiven the man who betrayed her. She had fought to give me life. And she had believed I deserved love, even if she wouldn't be around to give it herself. That kind of love doesn't die. Not really. I sat with her for over an hour. I talked about my job, my crappy apartment, the time I burned pasta because I forgot it on the stove. Stupid little things I wished she could have laughed at with me. And when I finally stood up, I felt lighter, like I'd been holding my breath for 24 years and finally exhaled. Before I left, I whispered one last thing. I'll be okay now. That was a few days ago. I haven't heard from my dad since. I doubt I will. And honestly, that's fine. He made his choices. He buried his guilt. And I've buried mine right next to my mom, but with peace, not shame. Now, I'm starting over. I'm not sure what that looks like yet, but I know who I am. I'm not a curse. I'm not a mistake. I'm not what he made me believe. I'm the boy she fought for. I'm her love made real. And that's enough for me.